Okay, don't.
You cut him off
don't
a
use
long
that.
time ago, editors.
Welcome to New Game Plus. This is a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
My name is Kenny.
Nolan.
And this is episode 401, our first ever double feature episode.
Wow.
What is
So
401 sounds crazy.
What's a double feature?
Heck if I know. I've never done it.
It's exactly what it sounds
More
like.
than one?
We're doubling the fun.
Double the pleasure?
It's basically gum. We are basically a gum commercial from the 90s.
Wow. Yeah.
Double the pleasure, double the fun. It's the statement of the
Before
great
Nolan
man.
was
with
No,
New
it's
Game
not.
Plus.
You saw my face when I realized what you were talking about. It wasn't before my time.
Okay, today we are going to be talking about two games, both Portal and Kirby Superstar. 2 episodes for the price of one, which is still free.
Also free.
Yes.
You guys are really making it out today.
Before we get there, question of the week. What's the scariest game that you've ever played? In the attitude and the spirit of the season.
Nice.
Let's get spooked.
I avoid scary games on purpose.
Yeah, that's true.
Well aware.
But every once in a while, y'all make me play
Fallout.
one.
I mean, not Fallout.
We have,
Far Cry.
Far Cry.
Yeah, Far
The
Cry
horror
actually
game Far
should
Cry.
be my answer. That should absolutely be my answer. No, Silent Hill is the name of that game that we played.
Yes.
That
Yeah, it's recent.
is scary. Yeah, I'll say Silent Hill.
That's
You went
good.
before me.
That's the foggy town, right?
Yeah, that's the foggy town.
Yeah.
You're looking for your daughter.
Yeah. Spooky.
Mine's related to Kenny's answer, actually. Mine
Cousins?
is a game, actually a demo, not a game. It's a demo called PT. Now, PT was this free demo that you download. It was a game, but very short, that you could play. It was a Kojima game. Kojima was going to make the next Silent Hill game called Silent Hills with Guillermo del Toro, the director.
Right.
And it got canceled. But they did release this as a teaser for the game that was coming out. And it's horrifying. And it was 2014, and you can't play it anymore. I think there's
That's
a
even
way
scarier.
to find... It is even scarier, like preservation. But I think you can find it somewhere online, maybe. But it will be a shady website. You can't play it anymore, and it was really, really, really scary. You need to watch footage of it.
I feel like I've heard of it. Why isn't it a bigger thing with those names that you said?
It kind of is. For people that know about it, it's like this legend. It's like this,
See, that's
the
fun.
game we didn't get, and so it's even scarier. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Mine are more, well, I guess mine is in the line with Silent. Well, maybe it's in line with both of them. I don't know. It's games that are not. Look, there are a few games that I played that are like, here's a scary horror game. I kind of roll my eyes, bro. Like, if it is Amnesia, or what are some of those games that are like, here's a jump scare,
The Dark
here's a jump
Descent,
scare.
yeah.
Yeah, like, look, yes, scary, but I just miss me with that.
Sure.
However, there are games that create those vibes and give a good world or story or something that's happening with there, like Alien Isolation was everything that I hoped that it would be. It said this is what we want to do, and it gave us exactly that.
Right.
My wife and I played that, hiding in vents, holding our own breaths, waiting for the alien to pass us by. Kenny, there's no way you're playing that, right?
No, absolutely. He would pass out.
You could pay me enough money to do it, but it would be an uncomfortably large amount of money.
New
there would be tears
Patreon tier. I also wrote down Dead Space. It's a relatively recent one. I think it just creates a good vibe. They remade it, and I haven't... No, I did play the remake. And so that's a good way to play it, but that's also a very kind of terrifying, unsettling experience.
Yes, I didn't say Dead Space because it doesn't terrify me the way this game does. It's not like super, super scary to me, but it's perfect vibe for like spooky game. Dead Space is so good.
Where, Kenny, would people be able to go and talk about it? So the reason why you hear this disgust and this...
I'm scared of your reaction to the fact that I continue dropping the ball on segueing here. If you have a spooky game, something that has terrified you in the past, and you want to talk to other people about it and compare who's been more scared and how and why, come jump in Discord. We got a channel question of the week specifically for you.
And maybe you don't yet have a community of like-minded gamers to play old games with, and that has you left feeling blue. Aren't you glad that we have a well-rounded solution for you, like in our retro games of the week, Portal and Kirby Superstar.
Overview.
If you've never heard of Portal before, let me tell you about Portal and about life and video games.
Please.
Portal is a 2007 puzzle platformer for the PC and Xbox 360, which I thought it was always just for PC.
Orange box.
Yes.
Xbox 360 game. My friend had it, but I played on PC.
Is the box an orange box?
I think it is, yeah. Yeah, I think they committed to the bit.
I don't know. That's it. But that is blowing my mind. I thought it was all PC. I thought all this was PC. Half-Life PC, Half-Life 2 PC, Team Fortress 13 PC, all that, you know?
I mean, that's where you should play it.
That's where you should play it.
Yeah, you absolutely should.
Nolan, you said orange box, so let me further clarify, because this isn't something that's normal. But Valve, the developer publisher company of this game and some of the games that I just mentioned, released a compilation of 5 games called The Orange Box. The games were Half-Life 2, which we have not yet played on the show, Half-Life 2 Episode 1 and 2, and those are the prequel ones where Luke is a kid. And then there's Team Fortress Team Fortress 2 and Portal. And neither of you took note to my really good Star Wars joke. Those were the 5 games that were included as a part of the Orange Box. Who played Team Fortress with me? Nolan? For a little bit?
It would have been me. I loved Team Fortress 2 more than any first-person shooter of all time. I love that game.
Wow.
And I wish it wasn't dead.
We played that for a little bit. I played Portal. I haven't played Half-Life 2 because I've wanted to save it for the show. And so Kenny, but the only game out of those 5 you've played is Portal? Or did you play a little bit of Team Fortress 2? Okay, Portal.
Oh, you didn't play Half-Life 2, Kenny?
No, just the first one.
Ooh.
And Nolan, you've played pretty much all those games, probably?
I've played all of them because, like, I had 3 out of 5 of those on my PC, and then my friend Greg had the Orange Box, and so we played all of them eventually.
Fun.
You realize Nolan's played every video game, right? Like
That's
all of them?
That's definitely not true.
This game was submitted by Harold. It's not a Patreon pool, but as a part of our very fun anniversary episode, we had games submitted. Harold was the one that pushed Portal forward. And we stepped through the portal to talk about, for the second time, this game. The first time was on an Elements episode back in 2017.
Ooh, ancient history.
Ancient history.
Do y'all think we talked about the gameplay?
I think we talked about the gameplay of Portal.
Yeah. That would be the one that would be the only one that
we
makes
for
sense.
sure did, yeah, for sure.
It would make the most sense, but there are other things you could talk about for sure.
I think we did the gameplay of Portal back in 2017. Another thing that I found out this week that I think some people know, but not everyone knows. And I think at least one of you will have a revelation here, unless you already know, and I'm just the idiot.
Okay.
But the origins of Portal shook me to the core this week, because I discovered through a series of fortunate events that Portal began years before as a student project from a group of seniors at DigiPen Institute of Technology, who created a game called Narbacular Drop. In Narbacular Drop, you're working with some kind of portals and you're moving through an area and you're dealing with some kind of physics there. This group of 10 students came up with this, and then they showed that project at their career fair, at their local career fair, in which a Valve employee was visiting, took note of what they were doing, told Gabe about that.
Yeah.
Gabe reached out to these 10 students, hired the 10 of them, brought them into Valve, and said, we want you to create a game based on this technology or these ideas. Here's some money. Here's some assets. Forwarded over some Half-Life 2 assets. And these 10 students, they may have gotten 1 or 2 added to the group, but these 10 students worked on this project for a year or 2, and they developed Portal.
A year or 2? Okay, goats.
Let me say, best decision
Gabe?
was
best.
renaming the game.
Well,
Totally
yeah.
different games, but Narbacular Drop, they wanted to come up with something that was searchable, and you would only find that. You know, like they didn't want... But it is funny, because then they go with Portal, which you're going to find a lot of other things with Portal. But kind of
Back
like
then,
it took
but
over
now
Portal now.
It's, dude, that's like
Yeah,
the Bill
students.
Gates story of the gaming world. That's crazy. They're
Is that not
genius.
phenomenal?
That is great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
super
I,
cool.
I had never known that Portal, such a legendary game here in 2023, right, looking back on it, started with 10 students, college students, at a career fair.
And ended up being a game that I got for free one day because Steam was like, here you go. And it just ended up being the best game of all time. Like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, so interesting. Okay, here is the story of Portal. The game begins with the player character Chell.
Shell. I don't say Chell.
It doesn't matter.
Yes, it does. It's
It
Shell.
might as well
It
it might
matters.
as well be a nameless. No, you're just playing
Oh
a
my
character.
goodness. Stories, characters
You
matter.
can
Don't
see
erase
her in
history.
the portals.
All right. Shell, you're right. Waking up from a stasis bed locked in a testing chamber shortly thereafter, Shell is put through a series of portal-centric tests by GLaDOS, a friendly and definitely not dangerous artificial intelligence.
Yes.
You go through these series of tests and rooms along with your trusty portal gun. Make it to the end happily ever after.
Gameplay.
Returning to this game for the millionth time this week, I had the millionth realization that this game teaches the player better than any game of all time.
It's perfect.
It's
Whoa.
perfect.
I wrote down that it teaches like Mario. I don't know if you recall, but when we
do
played
teach
Super
like
Mario
Mario.
Bros. Somewhat recently,
Mm-hmm.
it shocked me at how beautifully that the developers crafted the first couple of stages to
Yeah.
teach you. And that's what I thought this week. It's so expertly crafted because it is such a foreign experience back then.
Yes.
And one of the things that they were working with is like portals usually think of taking you to a different dimension, a different space entirely. And that's not what they're doing here with these portals. It's taking you
Right.
to...
You're not just teaching the mechanics of this game. You're teaching how to think about
Right.
the world that they've built in a way that you'll even be able to solve the puzzles.
And I think I still am more impressed by Mario in that regard because it was so foreign and because it's so subtle, the level design. But because this one, you through humor and through the design of the puzzles themselves and just really subtle things like, for example, and we'll get deeper into, we need to talk about the core mechanics of the portal gun, but there are different textures in the rooms that you're in to indicate portals can be placed here or not, or this is where you want to fling yourself, like textures, like down to the very fine details, and it's subtle and it's so good.
They even, in the first test chamber that you're exiting your actual cubicle, they make it to where you will see your player character through
Yes.
the portal placement so that you can know, okay, this portal's not taking me to a different location. It's keeping me in this room
Immediately, it teaches you so that you can't walk out of that room without seeing the fact that you're the one walking out of that room. It's so well done.
Really is fantastic. I'm glad that you brought that up. You also said for the millionth time, do you know how many times you've actually played this game through?
I could maybe find out in the... well, no, my saves have been deleted.
Just
I don't know.
estimate.
I would say I've played the game through 20 times.
Oh, gosh.
See, I think
Kenny,
that's low.
you played it all the way through before this week?
Absolutely.
Have you-
And also realized this week how short
Yeah.
it was. I used to think it was
Oh,
a
no,
bigger
I've
game
always
than
known
is.
it short. But Kenny, you have, right? Okay.
Yeah, more than once. This was probably my third or fourth playthrough.
I think I'm around that probably, maybe just a little bit more, but around that same thing. And yeah, I've always known it short because actually the first time, I don't remember the first time I played it, but it was during the duration of this podcast. And
Part of why it's short is because we revisit. It is relatively short.
no, it's short.
But the first time you're playing this game,
Still short.
it's gonna take you longer than it will other times.
Sure, because it's the first time you're exposed to the puzzles.
You got a
yes.
lot more, yeah, and so that like initial playthrough is gonna feel like a very good amount of game. You could still do it in one sitting, but it would be like a fuller
It would be a little
evening,
longer, yeah.
not just like a quick playthrough.
Yeah, even this time I did it in 2 sittings, being fairly familiar with it. But if you're coming to it for the first time, unfamiliar, 4 or 5 sittings, still short. I mean, you're like,
Yeah.
when you know it, this game is about 2 hours or so. If you don't know it, it's about 3 or 4, like at most. And
Yeah, that's fair.
and I remember it was probably 7 years ago, I played Portal. I was like, this is great. Grabbed my wife. We played through it together and then immediately went into Portal 2, and just a
Heck
fun
yeah.
experience, which we'll talk some about Portal 2. But okay, in this game, you are going from test chamber to test chamber. There are 19 of them, and they
Real ones.
each have increasing challenges and difficulty. This game is not just about playing the game, it's about thinking about how you're going to play the game. And you are using these portals, which you don't even have the gun to begin with. It's very creative. And then when you do get the gun, you only have one portal.
One portal.
And then
Right.
you eventually get the other portal, and you're able to have full control over portal placement. You've got a blue portal and an orange portal. They operate the same. They're just linked to one another. You have to you shoot them to a solid surface. If you're using your mouse, it's very nice. It's left click is blue and right click is orange. And you are placing these portals on the ceiling, flat ground, wall, whatever. And you're moving through this area, placing cubes on buttons to open doors, avoiding turrets later, and just you're solving puzzles and trying to get out or trying to get through to the next chamber.
And one thing that the game really, where the charm of the game I think really sets in, is in the atmosphere that you're going through in this game, because GLaDOS is guiding you really early. She's also helping teach you, like I said, some of the mechanics, but she starts to get a little cheeky, and you start to get that sense of like AI has taken over from her kind of thing, and the game finally exposes you to some secrets that GLaDOS probably didn't want you to see, where the veil is peeled back and you can see that other people have gone through these tests before and like scribbled on the wall, like help, like the cake is a lie, don't trust her, like, and it gets really eerie really quickly, and I always adored that about this game. And the atmosphere here, it's so clean. The puzzle rooms are so clean. It does feel like you're in a safe lab. There's like some frosted glass of people at first
Right.
viewing you, and then you get to go behind the scenes, and it gets really dark.
Yeah. The like passive story building. Like we talk about, they teach you the gameplay, sort of pulling back these layers and like letting you discover and then feel really good about the mechanics of the game itself. It does the same thing with the story. It just keeps adding new little twists and nuances, and it does it in such a humorous way. It's some of the best like passive sort of storytelling, because it's not like active. You're not really directly interacting with even any other
not a
people.
story
It's
game.
more just the environment and like the things you're going through are telling you kind of what's going on.
It's the epitome of show not tell, right? Like
absolutely.
it doesn't have to give you the script of what's happening. It's you're experiencing it and you're drawing your own conclusions throughout. And it's so good how it slowly does that. You'll have a few audio glitches with the AI at first, and you're like, what's up with that? And then at one point she's like, you'll be missed at the end or something, and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You'll be missed at the
Or
end?
it'll be like, just so you know, the portal gun you're holding now is worth more than all of the organs and people living in, and then it goes, insert test subject hometown here.
Yeah. It's so good, and just the slow reveals, the slow like unease and uncertainty of what you're experiencing. I know at one point she says something, and you find out when you solve that puzzle that she was lying to you, and then she said, and the next one she's like, apologizing and saying, that was just another test. I will not lie to you any further, that kind of stuff. So you find out like it's not a recording early on, and that it's just so interesting with that. You also mentioned, oh no, let's do this. Two things that I got to do this week that I hadn't previously done. I did a commentary playthrough. So after you beat the game, I think it opens up developer commentary, and you're able to play through the game, click on the speech bubbles, and you'll get recorded voice lines from some of the developers. It begins with a voice line from Gabe. the creator, right?
The father.
Godfather Gabe. And he ends his little speech welcoming you to the game saying, hey, let me know if you enjoyed this thing by emailing me, and drops his personal email address. Which is phenomenal. And I said that in Discord this week, and someone said that he still responds to personal emails, which would not surprise me.
He's got somebody.
Would not surprise me in the least.
But 2007, he wasn't as big as he is now.
Nope.
I mean,
he said we're just starting to test out this technology, so we'll see where it takes us. Yeah, it's so good. But you hear from other developers as well, so I would encourage you to do that. That's a lot of fun.
It's awesome.
And then I did the advanced maps, which are so much harder.
Let
me say something about this.
Getting to watch you play.
Dustin streamed this. Both of us were present. I had played all 6 of them a long time ago. I'm pretty good at this game, I think, because it took you a while.
And you think I'm pretty bad at it?
Well, not bad. It just took you a while.
Wow.
If I'm bad, you should see Kenny.
I know.
Yeah,
I don't want to.
You did some of the advanced puzzles faster than I do some of the normal ones. The twists that they do here on giving you similar levels, but with just like extra things that you have to think about, or where normally the puzzle itself is the challenge, but not like doing something efficiently and mechanically, and now they start adding some of those you have to be good at it elements to get through an area, were so well implemented.
Companion orb is just the cheekiest take on that room. I love that. Instead
changing
of the companion
a cube into an orb,
that's
which
the best.
Makes it so much more difficult.
So much harder because you have to deflect bullets and stuff, and it's just cheeky, and I love that.
It also like rolls, like when you set it down, it'll just like roll away.
But it just speaks to, again, how much like intentionality went in behind every single puzzle and every single design. There's so much thought put into this. Again, originally by 10 college students. Thank you, guys.
Aged.
Dustin, you started by making a joke that was like, if you haven't heard of this game, like give us the rock you've been under or whatever. You didn't say that. That was how I interpreted what you were saying.
The rock.
Everyone is aware of this because it's wildly popular. And if you haven't, like, get on the train. You've been left out. You need to. But we talk about it all the time, but the cultural impact and familiarity of a game when you start seeing and understanding that something is known beyond just sort of like in its niche speaks very highly to a game being successful. And this game has done that.
I think this is one of the games that we played. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree with that. I
agree.
I think this is one of the most age-proof games, like aged-proof games that we've ever played. Part of it is it's one of the newer games we played. Yes.
Yeah, it's not as old as a lot of what we played.
But it was a while ago.
I think graphically, sonically, they made and then just look, the gameplay is relatively simple. Right, like stripped down, it is relatively simple, but then it is so complex in how you're solving these things. But in the simplicity, and we've pointed to this in other games before when we were talking about how it's aged well. If it's simple graphically in all these other ways, then they tend to age better than someone trying to do something complex. I'm looking at you, early 3D PS graphics, right? Like those don't age well.
Even given that, though, they have gone to the work of supporting more recent hardware ability by like re-releasing a new version of the game that will let you utilize ray tracing. And so like there are options out there, not that the game even needs it, but that make this experience like future proof. And that speaks more to like the developers and their sort of just love for their game and their community than anything else. But it's a popular enough game that it can justify doing that however many years later, and people are still excited about it.
This is like one of the most timeless games I could name, because for a couple reasons. One, in its presentation alone, so flawless and so unique, and very, very much ahead of its time in pretty much every way. What was interesting about playing it in 2023 for me was, like AI is such a like buzzword these days, and I mean, we even have AI tools to the public that are changing things. And the fact that they went with a narrator, companion, enemy that is this AI mocking you, and you feel like a rat in a maze is timely and amazing, and still feels so fresh. It's crazy that they were able to go this direction with the game.
I do wonder, you said timeless. I do wonder, though, if the issue lies here. You'll have to speak to this, Nolan.
Yeah.
You having played it 24 times, however many times, does that diminish the replay value because it's a puzzle game? So when you know the solution to the puzzles, is the game still there?
Game's still there. I mean, yes, I recognize each puzzle. I kind of, even if it's been like 5 years, I still like, all right, I know where to go and how this eventually gets solved. So nothing's ever new in terms of the puzzles, but I still go through it and I don't stop and I don't get bored. I can't explain why, but it just
part of it's the brevity of the game. I think that's
True.
very
Yes.
smart,
True.
And part of it's the experience.
Yeah.
It's so tonal, and like you're going through a story and feeling things while you're doing these puzzles, and both things are rewarding. And so yeah.
And part of it is I think there's always, not always, but there's often still new things to do. I would imagine, Nolan, that in all the dozen playthroughs, you haven't gotten every achievement. The reason why I'm saying that, and maybe you have, is that some
Probably
of them are difficult. So there's other fun things you can do, like just knock down all the cameras that are in each of the rooms, and you do that using portals. Finding the radios, which they get increasingly hidden along the way, and then taking those radios, which I didn't even know this was a thing until this playthrough, taking the radios to a certain location in that chamber, and the red light on the radio turns green. It starts to do static, and sometimes it even does like the Morse code, and or it sounds like it. And if you do that in every room, it unlocks an. So there's always something more to do.
So those little layers of like Easter eggs and depth are so genius. Like it's just a well loved, crafted game.
The music is perfect. It's ambiance mainly. It's non-lyrical ambient music that starts pleasant, starts to get a little creepy as you progress, and then obviously the concluding song, which we can't go much into, but I think that is one of the most epic things. Portal 2 does something comparable that is also epic, but I think it's perfect.
And they do this thing too in this game, which is super clever with the music, where there's this idea of momentum-based flinging through portals to solve puzzles, and music will get a little more intense in those moments. Portal 2 does this better, in my opinion, but it's just subtle things like that to give signals to the player that they're on the right track. So it's great. Like, stupid. It's good.
We mentioned that there is a sequel. Portal 2 came out in 2011. It's about double the game, if not triple the game in length.
Yeah, it's
There's a lot. It dives a lot deeper into the story, but it keeps the fundamental puzzling idea. So like it is the same thing, but whole new level there.
Right, but a whole lot
if
more.
You want an individual copy of this game, I guess they released it at a different time outside of the orange box. You can get it for $6 used or loose, or $105 new. But you could just get the entire the orange box collection for $6 used, same, or $19 new. So a lot cheaper to get the orange box. Or you could just get it on Steam for free.
Right now you can?
No, not maybe. It's probably $2 right now, but it's
sale,
always
it'll
on
be
sale.
free. Yeah.
It's always on sale. You can pick this one up for a couple of bucks, and it's the best couple of bucks you may ever spend in your life.
final thoughts.
At the end of each and every one of our episodes, at the middle of each and every one of our episodes, we determine whether or not the game gets our vote for New Game Plus status, which is our general thumbs up or thumbs down. Does require 2/3 of the vote to swing one way or the other. This is no surprise to anyone. I think this is one of the best games that we played on the podcast. I have long, I guess for the last 6-7 years, debated whether I love Portal 1 or Portal 2 more. Portal 2 is arguably the better game, but there's something so beautiful about the capsule-sized Portal experience that began here. Portal 2 is a project of love as well, but maybe not as much as Portal because they didn't know if it was going to be successful. They didn't know what it was going to do. They were just pouring their heart and soul into this, and you can feel it every step of the way. It's near perfect. They do almost everything right. And it's so much fun to experiment with the portal gun. If you haven't played it in a few years, I would encourage you to go back to it. Because if you're anything like me, you'll remember the room somewhat, but you'll still have to solve the puzzles a little bit. So I think it is a game that I can come back to every few years and enjoy it with fresh eyes again. Portal absolutely gets my vote for New Game Plus status. Kenny?
Yeah. New Game Plus status is a foregone conclusion here. I don't think that's surprising to anybody. Like we all know, I'll just take the opportunity to, like everyone, say how much I love this game, how much I appreciate it, and go on to say that it's, in my mind, it's even more of a question of like, where does this rank on best video games of all time kind of question, you know? And I think, honestly, and I'll be a little bit generous, I could probably tighten these thresholds even more, but any top video game of all time list that doesn't have Portal or Portal 2, I'll give you either one, in the top 10.
Yeah.
I would maybe even say top 5, but like that becomes more of an opinion. I mean, like that's a little bit of a hotter take, but if it's not, if one of those two games is not in your top 10 list, I will say that your list is not valid.
Nice, Kenny. Woo,
I like
that's
that.
strong words.
It's easily one of the best video games of all time. Obvious New Game Plus.
I would like to watch Kenny play it just for the rage that I would probably feel when he's trying to solve puzzles. All right, Nolan.
This is a game that I would put into a time capsule for future humans or aliens to find one day, but you'd have to also put like today's PC, you know, all the peripherals, a generator that could plug it in, because everything will be different because PC games age poorly. But I think it is so much fun and so clever. And the fact I didn't know the grassroots origins, Dustin, that was news to me. And that changes it, in my opinion, even slightly more in the positive direction, that it was kind of a shot in the dark from Gabe, from these kids. And they took a chance and ended up making one of the best games of all time. That blows my mind. And it should make other developers ashamed of themselves in 2023 that are putting out games that, you know, whatever, for $60. I love this game. I love what it represents for me, for the time in my life and the time in gaming. You better play it. It is capital must play.
That means Narbacular Drop, Portal, is New Game Plus certified. What did you think? Our YouTube poll, 81% said yes, it's worth playing today, which is dreadfully low.
That's low.
2% said no, go play something else, and 17% are not gamers.
I'd say the 2%.
17% have an opportunity to experience something amazing. The 2%er,
who are they?
Needs to
get out
in some therapy.
They're AI bots, or they don't know what they're talking about.
We had many, of course, play along with us this week and write in. Keiko-san said, there are a few games that master how to tell a story that makes you hungry for more with barely any dialogue or cutscenes whatsoever. The secrets about Aperture Science, why you were put there in the first place, what the outside world is like, and how it became the way that it is all shrouded in mystery as you play through a claustrophobic set of chambers that always feels too well made. I'm sure other people can do a better job laying out the mechanics and level design, so I'll just focus on this storytelling aspect, because as simple as it may be, at the end of the day, it's a narrative that can only be told this well through video games, where you experience the loneliness and repetition of the world firsthand as the player.
We didn't mention this, but this is fascinating. I love it. This fits into the Valveverse story-wise. So Aperture Science is Black Mesa's rival company, tech company. Black Mesa being the company in the Half-Life series. Good.
Yeah.
So good.
So good. Guardian Cade said, "This game was a triumph. I'm making a note here. Huge success. It's hard to overstate my satisfaction. This game is a masterpiece. The platforming is smooth, and you soon realize that a portal gun is much more powerful than it first appears. Each puzzle is diverse and has you use your skills with the portal gun in ways you wouldn't have thought of before. GLaDOS is one of the best villains in video gaming, and her turrets are the definition of cute but deadly. This game easily gets NGP status from me, and anyone who disagrees can join their companion cube at the end of level 17.
Yeah.
Nice. Pretty good on the voices. Just, again, with the characterization of the minimal characters in this game. It's so fascinating.
GLaDOS gets a little redemption arc, though. Don't worry.
Finally, Harold, who submitted this game, said 8 reasons why you should play Portal, even if you don't like Portal games.
8 reasons. Okay.
Number 1, even though it is only a few hours long, it still feels like a full game. Number 2, it is very affordable, sometimes even free. Number 3, it runs on pretty much any computer that is 20 years or younger. Number 4, it's one of a kind in the style of puzzles. Number 5, the characters are very charming. Love the companion cube. Number 6, the gameplay is super smooth. Number 7, the graphics and music are ageless. And number 8, there will be cake.
Well there.
Thank you all for letting us know your thoughts on Portal, but now it's time to set aside Portal and get sucked into a brand new old game called Kirby Superstar.
Not 3 segues.
Overview.
Kirby's Fun Pack,
Okay.
or as you may know it here in the States, Kirby Superstar, is a anthology style collection of Kirby platform games developed by HAL Laboratory.
Shout-outs.
This is a Nintendo title, and it came out in 1996 for the SNES. In this game, you've got a series of small Kirby games that have a similar mechanic. You are, for the most part, 2D platforming and using normal Kirby mechanics to get through, but each of them has a little bit of a twist. And so you get a collection of each of these standalone games, as well as a couple of bonus mini games thrown on top. And as Kirby, you get to do everything from take on villains who are stealing food, to you do a lot of that, to fight some of your classic villains who are just causing normal villainous nonsense going on, to saving the galaxy. It's high stakes.
Just Kirby things.
It's just Kirby things, yeah.
I respect Kirby for, if you think about it, is actually one of the more violent and vile creatures that Nintendo has ever created.
Excuse me.
But they package it in such a cute way. You've got cute little bubblegum pink round ball Kirby who is going around and devouring his enemies.
Kenny on the defensive.
Maybe violent, but you can't say vile.
He is.
Yeah, he real-time digests them.
Real-time digests them, steals their soul, and embodies them. Like, it is...
And stores it for later.
Evil. Mario...
They're the bad guys.
Are they, though?
Oh, so you think we can just do that to... We can just do that to bad guys?
We never get
Maybe
their side of the
Kirby's the bad
story.
guy. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Listen,
revisionist. This is not how the world works.
This game was submitted by Super Gamer Guy on our anniversary episode, but I do want to point out that Turtle, another community member, submitted Kirby Superstar Ultra, which is the enhanced remake for the DS of this game. So basically, they submitted the same game.
Basically. And I've got to say that Kirby... first of all, I love anthology games. You know this about me. WarioWare Inc.
And it confuses me a little bit every time.
I don't know why that would confuse you. I love the idea, especially you, Kenny. You love mini games. In games.
I love many games.
You love MINI games, you nerd. You've said it before, and I just like the idea of having variety in a game, even if they package it like, here's a little game, here's a little game. And I didn't know Kirby had one of those. I had heard of this NES Kirby that everyone loves, this one. I didn't know it was multiple games in one. That was news to me, and I feel like I should be ashamed to not know that.
Gameplay.
Let's start by walking through the various game modes that you get. You've got Spring Breeze, which is
Just a remake.
typical Kirby.
It's an HD remake.
It is an
Right,
HD remake.
it's the remake of the earlier game, but with some like extra mechanics on this like Superstar,
Which we played on the podcast?
The Game Boy Kirby's Dream Land?
Yep.
Yeah, we did.
We played Kirby Dreamland.
Yeah.
We played Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards. Those are the two Kirby games that we have played. This is a remake of the Game Boy title.
Yes.
Right. This is the
Abbreviated.
this is Spring Breeze is that game shortened, upgraded.
Yeah.
You have Gourmet Race, which is a 2D platformer where you are just racing
And nomming.
to the and nomming, collecting the most amount of food you can get and trying to get to the end of the level before your competition. You've got Dynablade, which is kind of just typical Kirby. Like, there's no real unique aspects here. It's another Kirby.
It's just another Kirby game with a world map like some of the early Mario stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's got that kind of Mario overworld. That's sort of the twist. You've got the Great Cave Offensive, which is a sort of exploration kind of collection game. Some people
not.
may
Don't
say
say
this
that.
is sort of I'm not going to, because I also disagree.
It's the
And
first
we
game.
say it
It's the
too
first
often.
game that I will say is not a Metroidvania.
Yeah.
Some people call that a
Yes!
Metroidvania.
Some people do. Yeah, some people do.
Reaching.
But it's clearly not.
It's a reach.
There are elements that I understand why they would, but this one is light puzzling to find hidden treasures through a long sort of series. Again, your normal platforming still exists, your powers and all of that, just like all the other games. You also have Revenge of Meta Knight, which is a little story heavier, which is kind of fun, and also puts a timer on your action. So you got to be moving through things quickly and efficiently and with a little bit more, I don't know, kind of gravitas.
Pizzazz.
And then Milky Way
Flair.
Wishes, which you're going to various worlds like in outer space, moving through that process and getting the sun and moon to reconcile. High stakes stuff.
And the thing that is unique there on that one about the abilities is that you don't just have one at a time, but you collect them and then can change to them at any time.
I kind of wanted that.
Yeah,
the
which is
whole
a,
time.
a unique twist on the formula for the rest of them. There are a few mini games
Yes.
thrown in as well, as opposed to like the smaller like anthology of like normal Kirby games. You have Megaton Punch, you've got Samurai Kirby, and you have the Arena, which is kind of just like a boss challenge mode. And that's the game.
And I would like to point out that those the games. I would like to
That's
point
the games.
I would like to point
Them's the
out
games.
for the keen-eyed counters out there that this game is packaged as Kirby Superstar 8 games in one, and Kenny just listed all 9 of them.
Yeah, because you
What? Why did they do
unlocked
that?
like it's bonusy stuff.
I don't think they counted the arena for some reason, but
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
it's outrageous because there's 9
That
games.
is just as much of a game as the Samurai one. What?
Maybe more.
Maybe
yeah.
more. Okay, that's funny. They may have just goofed. Like
They may have just miscounted.
They knew that someday this game was going to be picked
On our 8-year anniversary.
as part of our 8-year anniversary.
Okay.
And they wanted it to all make sense. So they said 8 games in one.
Kirby was already a thing at this point. In fact, I don't recall,
Yes.
but I think there was already 6 or 7 or 8 games
I'd believe
before
it,
this
yeah.
one,
There
which
were a
is
couple on
crazy.
Game Boy, yeah.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
A lot on handheld. Kirby
And then
kind of
NES.
found its home on handheld.
Yeah, he's ton of handheld games.
This one was the first to do this unique thing where you're able to suck up a variety of enemies. I think I'm correct on this, and and consume and use their powers and their abilities in a unique way.
Yes, and it was this is the one that kind of popularized the association of Kirby with multiple different versions of Kirby because
Yeah.
it was much more graphically representing of what power you just got.
Right.
The powers themselves are extremely unique, and that carried Kirby into the future, I think, more so than the games
Absolutely.
before that came before.
Definitely carried him into the context of Kirby that I'm most
Smash.
familiar with. I know people like his games, but I'm a Kirby
Yes.
main in Smash. I'm not a good Smash player,
Yeah.
but he was my go-to character always. And so many references in this game for movesets, for his abilities, for how he functions.
Yes.
It was really fun to see that this week.
I think the most important though part of this game is the co-op feature, which I believe was also the first in the series, and one that you can enjoy solo because they allow you to, poop out a co-op
helper. They call it
a helper.
Yeah, helper.
If you don't have like a friend with you to have another controller.
If you don't have any friends, you can still play this game.
And
with fake friends.
I like that aspect of this game. It's totally not needed. The game is very, very easy. But that's not the point here. I think the point was to just have fun with a friend, to have two different powers and then go through the game. And I wish we could have been able to do that.
Let's not go through the whole list, but let's talk about some of those copy abilities, because Kirby actually becomes one of those characters, kind of. I mean, for example, he when he consumes a what is it, a knight? He's able to turn into this Link-like
He gets the Link
sword
hat.
wielder from Zelda, and that is from different ability to different ability. There are 24 standard copy abilities and 2 special ones,
which is huge.
There's so many.
24 is
SNES game?
so
Yeah.
many.
We ranted about this in Crystal Shards, which was on the N64 and was already kind of impressive. On the SNES, and you have that many, that's good. That is good. I mean, that's the core mechanic. You better have a lot.
I already told you I got excited about the ones that you see coming back later in Smash, because Smash. But the falling as a rock is super iconic.
One of my favorites.
You see
Super
that
strong.
here, the stone
Boss killer.
You see the jump and spin with your sword, the little swooshy sword guy. That's here and is super fun.
My favorite one is the wand. It's maybe one of the first ones you get actually in the game.
It's super powerful.
It's really good. It's like a flamethrower arc that goes in front of you, and
I think
it's a
just beam.
projectile. It's beam. It's really iconic and so good.
You've got bombs, you've got fire, you've got
bombs
ice,
are good
you've
too.
got everything. There's so many.
I had 2 different favorites, one for mobility reasons and one for combat reasons. My mobility one is the wheel. Like when you are able to be the wheel, or your partner is the wheel and you're the wheel rider. Sick.
That's good.
Then I liked the combat one. I liked the yo-yo guy. Like that, just you had reach. It could you could shoot the yo-yo through the walls. You might not. You can play this game and not consume one of the abilities that I used primarily the whole time, right?
Because you'll stick with the one you like and just burn through the game. Yeah. For sure.
And some of these, if you didn't catch, are some nods to other Nintendo titles. We mentioned the Zelda one, which I would have thought would have just been your favorite just because, Nolan. But you consume a sword. Yeah, it's not the greatest.
I like the nod, but
it does. So when you're full health.
Yeah, the beam.
You shoot a beam like in Zelda.
Yeah, that's great. The nod is perfect.
Fun. The consumable power-ups were kind of fun too. The Rockstar themed one where you had 3 huge screen clears and each one got a new animation and got bigger and more radical was super fun. Some of these power-ups that you could only get from bosses were an absolute blast. The giant hammer is strong. Iconic. Oh man, there's too many to talk about, which I think is on its own the defining characteristic of this
One
game.
final question I have is for Kenny. Did you ever get 1 win under your belt in Gourmet Race?
I did.
And the question that I have that follows up, did you find out the run function?
Yes, I figured out how to do the things. They're making fun of me because I failed really hard at Gourmet Run in the first play.
Smoked you.
It's because
he played Gourmet Walk.
I can't. So on the first level, I went through the tutorials, and it was super obnoxious. And so then I went to Gourmet, and I was like, I'm not taking the time to go through these tutorials. And so I just jumped in, and then I was very inefficient.
At least in the first place, as far as I know, you didn't die in a pit, which you can do in this game, but what you shouldn't do in this game, because Kirby has the ability to puff up and fly.
Yeah, he flies.
And So you have no excuse to ever fall in a pit. The only thing that sucks is that if you do have an enemy in your mouth at that time, you can't fly, so you fall like a rock.
I did fall in a pit this week. I have to admit.
Yeah, I did too.
But I thought it was because it was a secret room down
Same.
below me, but it wasn't.
He didn't fall into a pit. He YOLO'd himself to his death.
Aged.
SNES looks great in general, I would say. There are some exceptions to
when done well.
Sure. But
and particularly when the game releases in March of 1996, when the N64 released June of 1996.
Sure.
This is one of the last titles, if not the last, Super Nintendo title.
yes, and
That doesn't surprise me when I hear
so
that.
two things based on that. One, back to the Smash Brothers thing. This was the most recent Kirby model that they could have used for Smash, and they did. Yeah. And that's why it's so familiar to you. Two, the game is one of the most impressive, and yes, it was late, most impressive looking SNES games I've ever seen in my life. It is vibrant. It has layers, the parallax scrolling, the bottom HUD is there but not intrusive. The world maps in it. Fantastic looking game. The silence after that is worrying me.
Yeah,
because it's good.
Here's the thing.
Oh my
good,
God.
Not one of the
Hush.
best.
Yeah, one of the best may be strong, but this is totally just a taste thing. And this was true for me of both gameplay and the visuals. But this game had a lot going on, and I think almost too much. The screen's beautiful, but it's very busy. It's full of characters and chaos, and the puzzles are like weird and intricate. It's a lot going on.
Hey, I'm talking about graphics, buddy.
I know, and I'm telling you, the graphics are the same way. It's too much. It's too much.
Okay. Dustin, what great thing do you have to add about the graphics?
No, I don't want to. I say, well, I'll just write I'll say. Graphics are excellent and should be due to the late release, is what I wrote in my notes.
Okay,
I think they are excellent. I don't think it's one of the best on the console, but I do think it's great.
Better?
It definitely fits what's happening there. What I do think is great is the soundtrack. It's not one that I would necessarily listen to because it's
Iconic.
super like kiddie, but because it was so close to the N64 and to Smash, a lot of the songs that started here, or at least were refined and enhanced here, were brought over and used in the game.
I said exactly the same thing. I said that the music is great, but that it's very like game specific. I wouldn't listen to it like outside of the context, but it works very well here for Kirby and his character.
Also,
and what's going on.
I think one of the large maps that you can fight in one of the Smash Bros is from the Great Cave Offensive.
In Smash 64, you
Can you
definitely play
recall?
on Dreamland with the tree.
I think there's a Great Cave Offensive. It's a massive one, so you probably don't play on it much because
There
it's like
definitely is one in the future
32
Smash
v
Brothers
32.
games. Yeah.
So graphics, good soundtrack, banger, lots of memorable tracks there. I do think the better option to play this one is on the DS because you're not missing anything. You're only getting better things. And
I played it on the DS this week.
I played primarily on the DS this week, the Ultra version. It came out in 2008. It's got some other mini games on there, but it's got all the games with some added little cutscenes in between.
Cutscenes are nice, yeah.
Fluff it out a little bit more. And
nice.
if you're a Kirby fan, there's plenty of other Kirby titles out there. The most recent new title, I think, is Kirby and the Forgotten Land for the Switch in 2022. There's been one or two games since then, but they've been like remakes or little party games or something like that. You can also find Kirby and Smash. We've said that.
You can find Kirby Smash. There's some 3DS games that are fantastic. I think it's hard to go wrong with the Kirby game, honestly. There are fans of the Kirby series that will disagree with what I just said. But, I mean, they don't change the formula often.
You want to know what's crazy here? The Super Nintendo cart is $48 used or loose. A little bit pricey for games that we come across. Yeah. New, $470.
Ouch. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it would be cool to open up one of those new Kirby Superstar games.
I would want that one.
Final thoughts.
At the end of each and every one of our episodes, we determine whether or not the game gets our vote for New Game Plus status, which is our general thumbs up or thumbs down. It does require 2/3 of the vote to swing one way or the other. Nolan, fanboy.
Fanboy? No, I'm not a Kirby fanboy. That's why me liking this game is something to take note of, because going into Kirby Superstar, I was like, all right, whatever. It's a Kirby game. I'll probably end up liking it. Kirby's one of my least favorite IPs from Nintendo. Not because it's bad, it's just never been my passion. This game is super impressive to me. Number one, it's probably because I like the style of the game being anthology games, and you get a mix of different kinds of games. Although they, most of them are the similar Kirby formula, which is great because it works. The co-op thing here really impressed me, and I think it's a reason, maybe enough, to choose this one over others in the series if you want some Kirby in your life. To play with a friend if you can, and if not, just to experiment with the AI feature that's there. It is visually insane. It works on a lot of levels for me, and I have to recommend this one. I kind of think this is the definitive Kirby if you want like retro Kirby. So 100, New Game Plus, easy. Not a fanboy.
I think Kirby is some sick gaming joke that I'm not in on.
Okay.
It's my turn.
Oh,
Kirby is not good. Kirby is not fun. Kirby is too childish for everyone. It's a little rhyme that I put together. This is not a fair comparison, but it is a fair comparison. I have been playing a game called Super Mario Wonder this week. But even if I was playing Super Mario Bros., it is expert platforming. It is a challenge, but not too challenging. And there are power-ups, abilities. Mario and Kirby is a perfect comparison to one another. Maybe not Wonder and Kirby Superstar. Those are too far apart. But the two IPs are a completely fair comparison from the same company. And one is so much better than the other. Mario is perfect platforming, so much fun. Kirby is so not. The thing that is unique and fun here are the myriad of abilities to play around with. But these stages are so easy that you can do it blindfolded, that you can do it without hands, that you can do it voice activated. The Great Cave Offensive offended me because I had to stop playing it because I wanted to get all the treasures. Well, to get all the treasures, you have to have a second player. You can't do it with the CPU alone because you need someone to stand on a button. And when you move to the other side of the room to go through the door that the button opens, your CPU will port over to you. You need a second person, which is hard to do nowadays. It's certainly not a skill issue. The short mini games, I had more fun than Kenny seemed to have with them on the first play, but they are it's really just tap fast, tap fast, tap fast. So there's not much there. It is silly, it is fun, it is whatever, but there's not much there. I did enjoy the Revenge of Meta Knight. That was a game that I did enjoy in there. Cool little story-based missions. But that was the only game really that I enjoyed in there. Everything else was somewhat tedious, and other than playing around with the different abilities, I think everyone's in on something that I'm missing.
I'm gonna be sick.
I don't give my vote for New Game Plus status.
I'm gonna suplex you, Kenny. Please.
Which you can do, and it's so funny.
Yeah, this is on Kenny if it's not. So just get him out of him.
Here's. Nolan, I'm sorry to have to say this, but I understand where Dustin is coming from.
But
I started the week really, really struggling with this game. It is not a perfect game by any means. In fact, I was going to assume that I probably like this game less than either of you, although Dustin surprised me with his take, so that may not be the case. The mini games are just silly, like to the point of being pointless. And the differences in the anthology games, like one from another, could have just been worked into a larger, more cohesive game with like a variety of gameplay rather than randomly chopping it up for no reason, and it would have just felt like a much more fleshed out like experience. I do, however, love the variety of powers and the character himself. Dustin doesn't get it, and I don't know why, but Kirby is great. But I also spent the whole game feeling like kind of overwhelmed in the same way that I can recognize Sonic is good, but like I don't want to just go fast. Kirby is good, but I don't want like so much. Like it was just crazy. Here's what it felt like. It felt like I was holding a box of Fruit Loops and then got like sucked into a weird tornado. And there was just like stuff flying everywhere and powers and colors and like it was a lot.
Stop talking.
By the end of the week, however, the game redeemed itself for me.
Tornado.
There is enough variety in the power-ups, enough gameplay in the more fleshed out games, and enough variety within those games that I did have fun. So I'm going to give this game New Game Plus, but only by a sliver, which shouldn't surprise you because, and Nolan, you can't argue with me when I say this, Kirby sucks.
Both of you need to shut up forever.
The character's great. I'm just making the joke. Please,
it might as well be no New Game
except
Plus.
maybe Nolan.
After that,
Nolan often finds himself
vomit.
in positions where he loses if he wins, and this time
Absolutely.
he's winning, but he
He
still
backs himself into the corner.
but
still
I'm winning
feels
by
like
some.
he lost.
No
I'm
outcome
winning by
that will
some
make him
Fruit
happy.
Loop tornado of a review
so
of
it's
this
not even
game.
worth it.
I can't, dude.
No, it's Kirby's not
You got
good.
New Game Plus.
Kirby.
No, Kirby is
Stop
good.
saying
Kirby
that.
as an IP is not good.
Stop
it's
saying
good.
that.
It's,
No,
it's good on the
that's
same
false.
level of The Land Before Time.
All right, now you're
No,
trolling,
but
and now
also true.
the episode's over. Bye.
I'm so confused.
Kirby Superstar is New Game Plus certified, even though it might not sound like it is. It is. YouTube, 68% said yes, worth playing today. 4% agree with me, no, go play something else. 28% have
4%.
never played before.
4%.
4%. That's only double
Portal. We had many play along and write in this week. Most of them didn't like it, but I'll include a few that did. Crusader 911 said, I don't know if it's 911 or 911, both not the greatest. Kirby Superstar was my first Kirby game I ever played. I was in junior high and my friend invited me over to play couch co-op. It was a great game with so many different powers. The contests, the variety made it a special memory. Revisiting it now, it's still good. Graphics are spot on, but I was surprised how short the levels were. Still enjoyed revisiting it, but maybe a couch co-op experience would have taken it up a notch for me. NGP for me, without hesitation.
I think that co-op
Agreed.
point
Better.
is important.
Huge.
Yeah, better as a co-op game than as an individual game, for sure.
I will tell you this, as bland as Kirby is generally, if I was playing this with a friend or one of you, would have taken it over, would have been enjoyable. A lot of fun.
Yes.
Two different people playing two different abilities and being able to work together. I would love to ride one of you through one of these stages and like complete it with pizzazz. That would be so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be your wheel.
Turtle, who submitted the Ultra version of this game, said, Kirby Superstar is a true classic, which for over a decade was seen as universally the best Kirby game. It has since been surpassed several times, but it's clear to see why it's so highly regarded with 9 unique games with mostly pretty different gameplay. The one downside with many different game modes is that some of them don't feel as polished as they could, like Spring Breeze, which feels undercooked, and Great Cave Offensive, where some of the later puzzles also almost doesn't seem to have been made with the limited ability system of Kirby in mind. Other than that, it is definitely a gem for a console full of gems. NGP from me.
Gem for gems.
And then finally, Super Gamer Guy, who did submit this game on our anniversary episode, said Kirby Superstar is, above all else, unabashedly fun. From the varied movesets for every copy ability to the plethora of helpers accompanying you on your journey through Popstar, this anthology has it all. This was one of the few games my sister and I used to play together growing up, so I have fond memories of defeating Dynablade, Meta Knight, and even Marks on the regular. An approachable experience like this is suitable for all ages, so you'd be doing this title a disservice by writing it off as a simple kids game. Despite my love for a more cohesive game like Kirby's Adventure, Kirby Superstar remains my favorite and most replayed game in the series. New Game Poyo all the way.
New Game Poyo?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Oh, okay.
If the Meta Knight game was developed into a full Kirby game, I think that I would enjoy that with these copy abilities, particularly if you had the ability to pick any of the abilities that you've already sucked up, like you seem to like from the Milky Way one, Nolan. Did you like that?
Yeah, but
Okay.
did you like Kirby 64? I thought you did.
I would only know this because I've been going through the list that Garlisle created. I do believe that I gave it my vote for New Game Plus status.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't have any recollections of it, but
Really?
yeah. And it's 3D.
It's 3D, yes.
I feel like it's like this with those abilities, but 3D.
is.
Isn't it just kind of a 3D version of this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
But it's one cohesive game that
Yeah,
builds
it's not
out
an
what's
anthology.
happening. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for all that wrote in. There are plenty of more that did write in. Make sure to go and check those out in our Discord. We've got a commentary channel there. We'd love to feature your thoughts on next week's game or any week thereafter. Submit those to ngppodcast@gmail.com or hop into our commentary channel on Discord. For now, we're going to set aside both Portal and Kirby Superstar. We're not going to randomly select because next week we have a director's episode.
Heyo.
Siegfried will be joining us, and the game that we'll be talking about and playing for the next 7 days is a 1999 action RPG.
Stop it. Everybody trolling us with this genre.
But this genre is so vast, so you don't know what you're
yeah,
getting.
Yeah.
Came out on the PlayStation. 1999 action RPG for the PlayStation. I'm sold.
I guess.
Oh, that's the wrong genre for an ARPG to get me hyped. The wrong console.
It is the 4th game in its series and will be the 3rd game from the series that we have played. Woo!
What?
It began
Okay.
with Final Fantasy Adventure, and then the name shifted and the series became known in Japan as Seiken Densetsu. It is time for the first time for us to play Legend of Mana.
Oh my. Big game.
Big, and
Never
I would
played it.
assume, I guess it's a part of the Seiken Densetsu series, right? Or
Yeah.
it's part of the Mana series, which is the Seiken Densetsu
Yeah.
series.
Yes. The naming is all over the
Dustin,
place.
You love these so much.
So much.
Did you like wet your pants when you saw this was the game?
Currently wedding.
Wedding as we speak.
As
we speak.
speak. Find a
I'm
copy and
excited.
play Legend of Mana along with the 3 of us with Siegfried and our community this week.
You heard about our Discord server earlier in the episode when we were talking about question of the week. You can find that at discord.gg/newgameplus. There you can leave commentary on this game, and you can chat with other community members about all kinds of topics.
If your name is Ian, or Josh, or James,
It's not.
or Citizen Kane,
It's not.
we want to say thank you
I think it's
for
Citizen
joining
Shane.
us. Oh, it is. I
Citizen
can't read. We're also going to thank Citizen Kane, whoever that is.
It's a movie.
And Citizen Shane. We want to say thanks for joining us as patrons for the first time this week. Becoming part of our community in a way that we appreciate so much by giving us your vote of confidence and supporting us on patreon.com. Of course, we want to say a huge thank you as well to our director level supporters, which we're going to get to highlight next week in our director episode. Brojim, Miss Muso, Super Hypered, and Siegfried. And then we've got a huge list of producer level supporters who truly go above and beyond supporting us on an ongoing basis, including Adam, Alex, Marlene, Antonin, Ben, Big Dude, Brunt, Garlisle, Gimbin, Hallex, Harold, J. Robert, Jake, Jared, Joey, Jordan, Justin, Kenny's Beard, Clint, Knickknack, Corey, Levi, Maximum, Megatroid, Nolan's Old Mustache, Not Enough Dog, Orlando Workin' Punch, Pedro, Sajin, Shane, Shauna, Psycho Mantis, Thomas, Turtle, Unbedavable, and Zion.
What a list.
I got through it somehow, even though I struggled this week. Thank you to each and every one of you support. If you want to join these folks, head to patreon.com and check it out.
Which now you can join for free, okay? You will get alerts, updates from our public posts or from our posts that are available to every patron, but you still will not be able to get the ones that are locked behind certain tiers, but that's a new feature, so come. Even if you haven't or can't support us financially, completely fine. Come join us on Patreon, still get some free content there. You can follow us on our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube. The links are in the show notes. Listen directly on any podcast provider of your choice. Make sure you subscribe so that you're the first to get new NGP episodes. And while you're at it, please leave a kind rating and review. Our video episode was edited by our friend Dylan. Our audio episode was edited and produced by our friend Dan Willett. Join us next week as we play Legend of Mana. Until then, I'm still a Kirby hater.
I still understand it.
Both of you. Both of you. Fill in the blank.
He is my favorite, though.
Fill in the blank.
You're going to GLaDOS our butts?
Stop.
And this has been New Game Plus.